Neon, what's your favorite food?
Pizza.
And I'm the first person to stand up and say, this is not right, this is not cool, this is bull.
Some media reports on Neon were very misleading, and this is a big part of the reason why I'm making this long and comprehensive video. It's divided into 4 chapters, and I'll leave timestamps to specific parts in the description and comments for your convenience. With that said, grab some popcorn, sit back, relax, and enjoy. I know, you and I experienced such an emotional roller coaster in the past days. It was so easy to get on the bandwagon and start memeing about Neon, then taking it seriously, and for good reasons. Neon's marketing campaign was kinda misleading because these are not neons. The videos are computer made, but they do not represent neons. Also, in some demos they did a horrible job prioritizing what to focus on and what not, and I can't believe they actually let journalists interview neons and walk away with the footage without making sure they understand that this one, that one, and pretty much all of them, they're not really neons. Let me clarify. There wasn't a lot of creativity in their demo. They had one day to practice, and the Core R3 user interface wasn't easy enough to work with, so they stuck mostly with the same demonstration formula. Display certain features on Maya and others on Monica. All characters on stage were in one of these 4 modes. Mode 1 is the display pre-rendered videos like the promo videos mode. Here Core R3 becomes like Core R0. It already did all the work at home and took all its sweet time to render the videos based on real videos the way I'll explain in chapter 2. You can tell the characters are in mode 1 when the videos are as perfect and natural as they can ever be for now. I say for now because there are still imperfections that I'll get to later in the video. But why can't they render them in real time? Okay, what if I told you they had to turn off body movement for some characters in order not to overload the computer that Core R3 was running on in order to focus on some facial animations? Okay. So, maybe the computer wasn't that good? Well, it was a system that had not 32, not 64, but 128 core CPU. 2 of them, plus multiple graphics cards. So rendering videos this perfect in real time? No, they can't do this yet. Mode number 2 is the autonomous mode, in which Core R3 becomes like Core R2 because it loses the responsiveness to the world. It automatically chooses from thousands of human moves and expressions that it learned in its algorithm. The way it chooses is based upon what mode is active from the main modes in the algorithm, including rendering emotes of thinking, responding, or greetings, etc. You want to see a more accurate visualization of how many expressions there are? There you go. Each line is a pathway connecting an expression to another. There are thousands of expressions and millions of pathways connecting them, which is why it looks so dense. The reason you have to connect all these is that when you go from a certain smile to a certain confused face, you don't relax your muscles to make an idle face and then move to the confused face. You make the necessary modifications to your muscles at the same time. You jump straight from point to point without having to reset all the muscles first. So Core R3 had to learn how to naturally switch between expressions in real time. What it can't do as of now though is realistically change wrinkles of clothes. They'll need a similar network to this one for the physics of clothes if they don't want to reset it after each emote. By the way, the promo videos were also showing clothes artifacts that look similar to this morphing belt, but at a smaller scale. Like here, the sleeves were morphing, and this tiny fiber here as well. Before we explain the last 2 modes, we need to understand this bar here. I think they use it to keep track of the processing power used by Core R3 in order not to burn out anything. I noticed they use it when they want to focus on a finer level of expressions, because as I said, they're using a fat computer, but still in order for expressions to come human out of Core R3, it needs to take many details and equations into consideration. So when the bar spikes to the right, this means Core R3 is doing more work. Now let's see how this applies to the next modes. Now mode number 3 is the alive mode, in which Core R3 can do moves in response to commands. It also allows you to override the non-scripted real-time rendering manually. They use this mode to demonstrate that Core R3 is really 20 millisecond responsive, as it changes to rendering instantaneously in response to a request of new expressions or even editing the expressions in real time. Notice that once you request a new expression from Core R3, the slider spikes to the right, then slowly goes back to less utilization of resources. The spike happens when it's thinking about how to create the requested expression. Then it goes back to medium CPU when it's just rendering the expression that was created and queued. Also, notice that the code is generated at a much faster rate when Core R3 is creating an expression, then slows down when it's only executing it. This is why it doesn't go above medium when someone else manipulates smaller details like head rotation and eyebrow movement, because then it's not thinking about a new expression, it's directly taking the orders to the rendering part of the engine. And here it stays high because it's constantly switching from an expression to another. And you can see there were also some problems when rendering in real time. Maya's model looked unstable and her teeth were morphing and weren't in sync with the movement of her head in this scene. Mode number 4. Well, it's not a mode, but I call it the PITSA AI mode. It's just a modified version of the Alive mode, so instead of generating videos based on commands from a real person or half-decent AI on what and how to animate, Core R3 takes commands in PITSA mode from what seems to be a very cheap 2010 chatbot.
Simon, can we try to connect a third-party chatting chit-chat system or chatting bot?
No, Simon, please don't do this to Core R3.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Ah, shut up! And because the chatbot wasn't meant for this, it was unable to control Core R3 or push it to even a fraction of its potential. As you can see, the low bar is barely showing activity above the activity required for rendering the idle model. And when you look at her face, there are clearly no emotions at all. She's basically dead, because Core R3 isn't doing anything except render the almost still image of Monica. And by the way, if you applied the chatbot to Maya's model, it will go to PITSA mode and vice versa. Here Pranav wanted to show that Monica can also show realistic expressions. Notice how her face suddenly becomes alive when she goes from PITSA to an expression by Core R3. And here he showed that you can execute an expression while manually overriding part of it. So he asked Simon to close her eyes and have her say hi. This proves that all of this is being generated in real time. And now you can see why they don't want to do too many crazy actions with this early build, because right after this unusual combination of expressions, part of the system crashed. The head and shoulder region of the visualizer disappeared, followed by the model that Core R3 was constructing. The rest of the body stayed there because, as I said, they freeze the bodies in order to focus on the face. Okay, but who is doing the voice and the lip sync? It's the chatbot that is connected to, including the lip sync and voice assistant service, not Core R3, as Core R3 only works on understanding, finding, and executing human emotions and body movements within the videos that it's rendering. It has nothing to do with how these bots respond to you or how they move their mouth. You may then ask, why did they put a broken chatbot to bottleneck Core R3? Well, they only wanted a proof of concept here. They wanted to show that you can put other software to run on top of Core R3 to control it. They didn't have time to develop services of their own, but in the future they'll be adding SPECTRA, which will be the brain of Neon's, a clean lip sync system, and a better voice. Pranav himself said that the voice and lip sync aren't their focus at the moment, that this will come later anyway.
This is not coming from us. So if you hear the sound which is sounding mechanical, it's nothing to do with Neon. That is not coming from us, and that is why we are designing SPECTRA in the future.
Perhaps it wasn't a very smart idea though to let journalists interview a Neon and leave thinking they were talking to your dream of an artificial human, while in fact they were talking to an online chatbot sitting on top of Core R3 that's showing almost no activity because the chatbot isn't freaking telling it to do anything. Because maybe, just maybe, these journalists will make videos that earn hundreds of thousands of views. Awesome marketing. Great job, Star Labs.
Today we are trying to see how far we can go with this experiment. Samsung is coming in a new era of innovation and learning.
In October of 2018, Pranav and his friends started experimenting with Core R3. You give it a video and it gives you back another video of what it thinks it saw on the original one, how the person looked and what the details and expressions were. If you can't find a difference between the two videos other than the green screen, which by the way explains the aura around a lot of the characters that I noticed in a previous video, then let me help. Core R3 was still in its early days as it failed to understand how humans move their eyes. Eyes on the generated video on the right didn't feel alive. Core R3 still had a long way to go in establishing patterns around the relationship between the two eyes, the way people blink, and whether they blink with one eye. At first it thought so, and it made some obvious errors, giving the video on the right the uncanny vibes. Also, the lips didn't move correctly, hair looked very unstable, and clothes were morphing. See how many errors it used to make in version 0.1? Now fast forward a year to version 0.8 and we meet the promo videos. Now how many of you believe they were just real people? Confirmation bias made some misunderstand Star Labs' statement simulated for illustrative purposes only, occasionally to quickly jump to the conclusion that these are just real people. That's how perfect Core R3 has gotten even before beta. It went from making multiple obvious mistakes while reinterpreting a simple video to almost perfection when interpreting complicated videos with many moving elements and human body movements. I said almost because while most of us won't notice a problem, if you dive deeper you'll still find remnants of the more obvious original errors, from big artifacts in the shirt to much smaller ones, and most of them require a lot of moving elements to confuse Core R3. From uncanny valley eyes to the eyes that convinced a lot of people that they're real. That is until you zoom in and realize that their eyes are weirdly morphing, and that a lot of them have this one weird blink. This is still a massive improvement over last year, and I found it very hard to spot a problem in the eyes when the person was looking directly at the camera. Well done Core R3 reproducing the video with this much convincing realism. So now Core R3 is almost perfect when videos have a source, like in the promo videos, and acceptable in real time without a source video, and I can only see it getting better in the future. But what's the use of this? If it can learn and simulate human expressions and movements, what can it do as well? Let's go back to the development. In early experiments, Core R3 tried to reinterpret the movements of one face and apply them on another face. Okay, sounds like deepfakes. Even though the two things are supposed to be different because Core R3 doesn't just extract and paste expressions, or then its very early videos would have been a copy-paste from the original, but as I showed, they weren't. But apart from how it started, as months went by, it started getting more interesting. Now this guy, Michael, is the source video, but look at what Core R3 did. It created videos different from the source video, with expressions that Michael never did, and they look close to human as well. It became so experienced with human expressions that it doesn't need a source scene for expressions anymore. Oh, and it can now do the same thing for body movements. At this point, folks at Star Labs got excited. It was July of 2019, and they only had 4 months before CES, so they prepared these characters. We know they're based on real people, but unlike the promo videos which had a very similar video source and were used for training for Core R3, people in these videos like Maya and Karen, they never did these particular moves and expressions in the videos. Core R3 created them and animated the characters. Think of it this way, Siri for example can read anything in the world, but does that mean that the original voice of Siri had to read every possible sentence? No. So these characters can now do all the expressions in the world, even though the original videos of these actors didn't have these particular expressions. Core R3 is made up of 3 pieces of software. One of them is the AI part that can learn human expressions and movements, the second one is the part that allows it to generate new ones on its own, and the third is the part responsible for rendering and animations. So in summary, Core R3 can recreate a video after learning its elements with high levels of accuracy, reanimate a video with the expressions in another one, reanimate a model with different expressions and movements on its own, respond to commands to execute certain emotions, be overridden by direct input that controls final expressions, and be integrated with other services like AI, voice services, and lip sync, which leads us to Chapter 3. Now that Star Labs have Core R3 that has so much potential and has shown huge progress in only a year, what can they do with it? Well, at first, they had no idea. Pranav was like, we do the science first and later we think about the application. But since Core R3 can recreate realistic looking beings with new expressions and movements and do it in real time with enough processing power, they thought, hey, this could be the beginning of a new species on Earth. But Neons as of now are just an empty shell. They're basically Core R3, a rendering engine that has the ability to learn more expressions with increasing accuracy and automatically select from thousands of expressions depending on what exactly you want it to do. So this here isn't the brain of a Neon, it's the brain of Core R3. So it's the brain of expressions and movements of a Neon. If you ask it to smile, the part of the network that's responsible for greetings and friendly expressions will be activated. And inside that part, the AI of Core R3 will choose the suitable from the expressions that it learned and then forward it to the graphics part of the engine to execute. And it can do all this in 20 milliseconds, hence the second R in Core R3 real time. Now in order to make Neons behave like humans, you need another AI element. The AI that will be able to communicate with you, understand you, make verbal and visual responses to you, send the verbal response to a clean text-to-speech and lip-sync algorithm, send the visual part of the response to Core R3 to get the visual rendering, and sync all this together to generate the full realistic response.
Welcome.
Neon?
Are Star working on this? Yes, and they're calling it Spectra, the second half of Neons that they unfortunately lacked in CES of 2020. It will analyze your interaction with it and generate human responses while calculating the time needed for each section of the response to inform the AI part of Core R3 and get the expression that fits the verbal response. Spectra will be the artificial general intelligence responsible for the intelligence, learning, emotions, and memory of Neons. It will enable Neons to think like us, and just like we express ourselves with our muscles, Spectra will express itself via Core R3. Pranav said Spectra will be in beta by the end of the year or maybe the year after. He also said the team will take a break after CES and then work hard for the upcoming event Neon World 2020 by the end of this year. And there we'll see Spectra for the first time, and hopefully it will be in beta by that time. We will see Core R3 for the second time, but this time it will be more stable in beta, and hopefully this time they put the two pieces together so that we can see a true Neon for the first time, because we haven't seen a true Neon till now. All we saw were computers struggling to keep up with an unstable Core R3, so they had to show small pieces of a demo at a time, and we also saw some proof of concepts using dead chatbots. And he said that Star will start working with partners from across the globe in order to develop these Neons and see what works and what doesn't. I read some pretty interesting things about what they want Neons to do. They're not planning to make them replace humans, but bring machines closer to us. For example, instead of using a dead ATM machine, you have a Neon assisting you. Instead of automatic check-in at the airport, you have a Neon to talk to. This aspect of Neon will bring even more life and humanity to our lives. It will feel better when we're interacting with humans that smile back to you than when we're just inserting a card and pressing some buttons. Another aspect of Neon is, for example, when you need a yoga instructor but you can't plan out going to sessions or can't afford a private instructor at home. Before Neon, you would just be viewing pictures or recorded sessions, but with Neon you'll have a digital human that will teach you and interact with you. Some awesome people in the comments suggested that they'll also be great as partners for teaching people with mental disabilities or say sign language for the hearing impaired. But then again, Star don't have a business model yet. The realism that Core R3 provides combined with Spectra can make something that might replace some human jobs. And I have to be honest with you, it's called evolution. Something that's been happening on our usual planet for billions of years. And people were upset and said the same things when computers and the internet first appeared. And yes, they did replace some people, but ultimately it was for the best. Those two inventions changed the way we live our lives forever and accelerated the wheel of progress so much in the last 50 years that some people are still finding it difficult to adapt because so much happened in only half a century. People getting replaced is an unfortunate side effect of progress. But the good thing is, it doesn't have to be an immediate effect. You can keep people already doing what they're doing in their respective positions, but maybe limit the number of people learning these jobs to prepare the new work market for a new player. And of course, Neons can be your friends at home, and they'll have their own unique personalities that will be designed to be similar to these of humans, so you can expect them to say no to you or feel tired. Great, imagine being friend-zoned by a Neon. Pranav says when you make a friend, you build a friendship, not build a friend. So you won't be able to modify his personality, but over time the two of you will get closer and learn more about each other. And you might ask the question, if it took them 256 CPU cores and multiple graphics cards just for the demo, how is this going to happen inside your phone or computer? It won't. Your interaction data will be collected from your devices, and I guess then you should have a good microphone and webcam/selfie camera for Neons to be able to read your expressions and voice tones correctly. Then the data will travel to the Neon servers that are monster machines, and inside the server, Spectra and Core R3 will work together and render the video that will be streamed to your phone. In the future, they'll consider using holograms to make Neons leave screens and appear in your room, but they don't plan on making them physical androids, at least for now. And regarding privacy, the data will be encrypted by a system that not even Pranav Mystery himself can have access to, so everything stays between you and your Neon. Will you have the courage to share secrets with your Neons? Tell me in the comments. So yeah, Neon World 2020, we will see. I'm not surprised by how long this video turned out to be, but I wanted to make it for two reasons besides my interest for Neon. First, I was so pissed that media didn't cover the presentation and demo correctly, and second, I felt that part of the reason why media didn't cover the event correctly was because of me. I started a massive hype wave by shedding light on the leaked promo videos, and while the promo videos were really computer generated as I showed, they were only a demonstration of one aspect of Core R3 and weren't videos of true Neons. This is why they they said scenarios shown in our promo videos are for illustrative purposes only. Yes, these videos were rendered by Core R3, but we all thought that these were really neons because the marketing team didn't clarify the situation early enough.
So this is actually a synthetic behind me.
Yeah, this is a computer-generated artificial human.
Movements and all, not an actress.
No.
Wow.
And because journalists who covered the event were initially so hyped, a lot of them lost interest quickly and left, and those who remained had to deal with a very badly structured presentation and demo. The thing about Pranav is, he might be presenting something revolutionary, but the presentation was very fast-paced that I found myself missing out on key information if I lost attention for only several seconds. Also, he was talking very fast and off the top of his head that some parts were very confusing that I only understood them after analyzing different videos of the presentation. Pranav was talking like he was having a chat with his colleagues at the Neon team, and he wasn't ready yet to address the public. In addition, the slides that were being shown on the screen were a mess, and Pranav didn't make it clear what was going on. Heck, I even had to replay some parts like 10 freaking times just to have a better idea of what Core R3 is doing. And don't get me started on the demonstration. They didn't clarify during each demo what exactly was happening, and they let people walk away with a totally wrong idea about Neon.
Okay, so I'm about to get to chat with Neon.
No, you're not.
Do you like football?
Pizza. Pizza.
Why not, Neon?
Pizza.
What do you want? What do you hope to accomplish?
Pizza.
Okay,
Pizza.
it wasn't really building on context with questions.
They used a few chatbots to demonstrate that they can be integrated with Core R3, and they spent the wrong amount of time on this part of the presentation that people started to think this is really part of Neon. Pranav said that it wasn't, but apparently he didn't stress it enough. The result, a lot of the media coverage on the event was very misleading. I'm not blaming my fellow tech journalists. They didn't have the time to sit down and literally study and analyze the presentation and demo in order not to miss out on the things that make a difference, especially when they were overhyped before the event because of the promo videos. This was the job of Star Labs, and Pranav literally said that this is the second day of the demo and that they worked overnight to improve it.
We tried to do some demos first time. Overnight we worked even more harder to make it even better, and we are going to show you something more even exciting.
Just some friendly advice to Star Labs. I know you guys are a 4-month-old company and didn't have time, but look at the result of when all these factors went into play. People got really disappointed and many of them lost interest in your technology. You need to hire more marketing professionals next time because the tech community is really harsh in its criticism and will eat you alive if you fail at correctly presenting what you have. And of course, this is what we do. We will always criticize because this is how we protect consumers from gimmicks or bad tech products and help them better direct their money. I got some of my interest back in Neon after analyzing the event, and I wanted to share my view with you, my dear subscribers. I did my best to report what happened in CES, and I didn't want to feel guilty for being an indirect reason for the low public support for Neon, especially when Pranav Mystery and his team are so passionate and excited about what they're working on, and when there might be something good in the distance emerging from their work. But at least, out of all this, I met you guys, and I can't express how grateful I am. A lot of things happened for my channel in the past 10 days. They wouldn't have happened if Sineska hadn't found the videos and posted them on Reddit, or if GoFor31 hadn't shared the link to the post with me, and of course it wouldn't have happened if Star Labs had killed the hype early. My channel more than doubled in size. I wish I could thank each and every one of you in person for making me happy when you subscribed. And special thanks to my friend Sal from Tech Talk TV who directly shouted out the video, resulting in even more subscribers. I'm humbled by all this. I just hope I can live up to your expectations. I'll continue to cover interesting tech for you because we're in the 21st century. The future will be amazing and the sky is the limit. But one thing I'm sure of, I'll always be honest with you. I may make mistakes, but will always learn from and correct them, and I'll do my best to add value to the tech community through this channel. With that said, if you're still watching, you're amazing. You're breathtaking.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.